Hi, and welcome to MCTV's Let's Talk. I'm Mike Stanzillis, Vice President of Membership and Government Affairs for the Morris County Chamber of Commerce. And today we have for our member spotlight, Rich Lipton. Rich is the founder of Lipton CPA Associates, a boutique CPA firm that started way back in 1990. Prior to that, Rich worked for several regional accounting firms where he gained a broad range of experience. So Rich has been awarded something very interesting, and it's a distinguished award. It's the Certified Financial Forensics CFF certification from the AICPA. He's used these additional skills and resources to look behind the numbers and not just at the numbers. So Rich, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Mike, for having me.
It's our pleasure to have you. So, I've gotten to know you over the last year that I've been here at the Chamber, and I found out something very interesting about you. You changed a lot of tires on cars, trucks, buses as a kid growing up and as a young adult. What happened? Why were you changing so many tires, and do you still change tires, Rich?
Well, I'll answer why I changed them. I grew up in a family business, and as people probably figured out from what you just said, it was a tire business. And as a little kid, starting at age 4, I loved the business world. At 7, I actually did change my first tire using the equipment with it. And growing up there, I got to love cars, but I also just really started loving the business world. I like dealing with customers, suppliers, employees, and putting those challenges together. You have to realize I was a little kid at the time doing it, but I just love those challenges. I'd still go to camp and play with my friends, but I loved to do it. This was my passion. And it grew from there.
Do you still, I don't want to digress too much, but do you change your own tires now, or do you call somebody?
I finally gave up changing them myself, and I have one of my contacts or several of my contacts from those days that I still deal with, do it themselves.
All right. Well,
I just don't have the equipment anymore. I can still do it, but I don't have the tools or the equipment. I gave all that up.
Well, it's such a great story about you because your parents were entrepreneurs and you grew up in this entrepreneurial environment of running a business since you were a kid. So you've started CPA Lipton CPA Associates 30 years ago, 1990. Clearly, this says a lot about you as a leader. There's no way you could have stayed in business this long without really being a quality leader with the vision and the ability to keep your business going. So tell us a little bit about your leadership style and some of the struggles you may have had throughout that period of time.
Well, one of the things I learned at an early age, which I've always carried through from the time I started my business, and even from the time I coached my son's basketball team, is you have to look at things as a team. Even though I'm the founding partner of the firm, I do not let my employees feel like I'm their boss. I feel like I'm their coach and I'm their leader. With my clients, I have the same process. My clients all know that I don't just yell at them and tell them what to do. I'm not passive and just say, oh, what you want to do is okay. I have a technique that we use once we learn their personality and their needs to work with them as part of a team member so that everybody is together. Everybody feels that they're on the same level. Nobody's above each other. Nobody is below each other. But I take my experience and I relay it to them. And without me putting myself on a level above them, they know that I have that additional knowledge and leadership with it. So with that, and if it's done right, and you have to adapt this to each person's personality because there's no two people that are the same. That's one of the first things my father taught me in business, and that would be for any business, is to take all these skills that we've developed over these years of being in business and growing up in it, and now getting my employees and getting my clients to want to hear more about it. And with that, they're not intimidated to ask a question. They're not afraid of asking a stupid question because there are no stupid questions. If it's a question, it's a smart question because they should ask it. And we encourage that. So with that, we get people, instead of saying, I'm afraid to ask them or I don't want to ask the boss, they feel good about asking questions about it. And I've developed this knack, I'd say more than the 30 years I've been in business, But from the time I was back working in a tire shop with a totally different type of clientele and a totally different type of employee. And with that, it's worked. I've had staff members that are with me well over 20 years already.
Wow. So those are some amazing tips for leadership, and clearly you get it, and your success demonstrates the quality of your leadership. And I really like, you were saying there's no such thing as a dumb question or a stupid question, and people feel comfortable coming to you, and they know that they're not going to get beat up. And like you said, you've had people that have been with you for 20 years.
I have staff that's been with me 20. I have clients that have been with me 30 years from day one.
It's an outstanding testament to your leadership, Rich. So we're talking to the chamber members. Why don't you share with our chamber members some of the roadblocks, minefields, pitfalls that you've experienced in your 30 years of running a business, especially for those that are getting started or thinking of getting started in their own business?
One of the biggest pitfalls or roadblocks in any business is always staying ahead of the time. You can't look at things saying, this is what worked in the past. We look at that as a guide when I speak to my clients and I advise them running their business the same way we've had the success over 30 years is, let's see what's worked in the past. Let's see what hasn't worked in the past. And now let's take it of what's going to happen in the future. We always want to look forward with the business. What's happened in the past is great. If there were mistakes made, now we have to fix it. And hopefully they came to us in time that we can fix it. If there's positives that happened in the past, then we have to build on it. But we always try to work with our clients to say, what's going to happen next? Mm-hmm. Right now is a major issue, which we all know about, is we have an election coming up next week. And after this election, there's a high probability that we're going to have some type of tax law change. It could be minimal changes or tweaking if we keep the same administration. And I don't talk politics with my clients. I always talk the effect of the different programs that'll come in. Or we may have some major tax increases. Not everything that's that's being campaigned, but there will be a version of it. And from our knowledge of seeing these things many times, we have a good feel of how much of it will actually make it into law of what's being proposed. So with that, we're right now very busy with positioning our clients so that they can be in the right spot for tax purposes, that they can either benefit from tax changes or they don't get hurt by any tax increases. By brief example, with the 2016 election, the same thing. We didn't know who was going to win. We had our clients set up for two different angles regarding who win. And then after we saw, we could just flip the switch. And in a nutshell, many of our clients who went with us for this whole thing literally saved 20% off their income tax bill.
Wow.
Right off the bottom, 20%.
That's an outstanding result. Outstanding.
Yeah.
But I really liked what you said about, looking to the future and not always being stuck in the past. I mean, one of the last things you as a leader and as a business owner is, we've always done it this way, why change? So those are the last words you want to hear. So one of the things that you talk about, and I hear you talk about a lot around the chamber, is this forensic accounting. I think people find that concept fascinating. So what is forensic accounting? What is the CFF? And how much of that represents your portfolio or business?
Okay. CFF stands for Certified in Financial Forensics. It's a designation by the American Institute of CPAs that obviously only CPAs can have. 1% of CPAs qualified for that designation. It came about because forensic accounting, which I'll explain in a minute, started getting more popular. And there's a lot of different organizations that will sell designations, but they're not accredited. And it was cheapening the CPA name. So the American Institute of CPAs came out with their own designation, which is not based upon just paying dues and taking a test. It's based upon qualifications, also how many years you've already been doing it, how many cases you've handled, how many times you've testified in court, the diversity of it, and the results. So that's why only select few have actually gotten that designation. With that, what we do with it would be the next question. Forensic accounting is investigative. Accountants, by nature, are trained to look at numbers. Forensic accountants are trained to look behind the numbers. And what that means is, instead of saying, okay, here's a bunch of papers that and information of financials that a client gives us, and just do a tax return with it. We do tax returns, but we don't just accept everything at face value. We do a deep dive into it, what it means. Now, this can take on several different avenues. One is, if somebody's having a business problem, we can look into it we have special interview techniques, special analytical techniques to see what caused those problems. Why is their business going down? Is it because of COVID? Is it because of the economy? Is it because of bad weather for this week? Or are they doing something wrong? And maybe something they're not even thinking of, possibly because they haven't changed with the world. So we have to tactfully find these things out. We also do a lot of, with forensic accounting, the original purpose is fraud investigations. Fraud and embezzlement statistically have been proven to be 5% of gross income that's been lost to companies nationwide. And it's been that way for years. It's actually just yesterday it was confirmed again. It's the major cause of bankruptcy. And the problem is people don't know it because companies will know that, okay, my suppliers went up in expense, my rent went up, my utilities went up, and I can't afford it anymore. No business owner realizes that their embezzlement went up because the person doing it doesn't go up and say, look, I embezzled 3% from you last year. I'm going to have to increase it to 4%. It just doesn't happen. Nobody's going to come across and admit that.
The embezzlement percentage went up this year.
Right. And there's no line on the P&L for that either.
Yeah.
And one of the biggest issues we come into is when a business owner, we talk about roadblocks, think they know everything themselves. And a lot of it's because of technology. They'll have a software program and they'll look at it and say, oh, I can figure this all out myself. I took an accounting course in college. I know all this. And the fraudsters are so much smarter than anybody can imagine. It's incredible. And to them, this is all a challenge. Okay. This is not a person who's living off fraud and say, when I get to a certain dollar amount, I'm going to retire, or age, I'm going to retire. They keep doing this until they try one more and one more, and it builds and it builds and develops. And some of these embezzlement cases where an owner lets something slide and somebody takes something worth a few dollars, then they say, it's a loyal employee, I don't care. If the controls aren't put in and we don't catch it right away, we have literally seen cases that started out with a few dollars that have finished off in the millions of dollars.
Wow, incredible. So, there's so much opportunity for you to help your customers improve their bottom line.
Yes.
And you talked about it both just from the regular accounting and taxing practices and the forensics piece. So Rich, in closing, I saw one of your customers' testimonials and it said, why didn't I meet you years ago? So Rich Lipton, Lipton CPA Associates, to all of our chamber members, if you haven't met Rich, it's time that you met him. And Rich, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me, Mike. It's been a pleasure.
And thank you to all our Morris County Chamber of Commerce members for all of your support. If you're interested in doing a member spotlight, please reach out to me and we'd be more than happy to help you do that. And once again, get out there and grow your businesses.